1 hour, one continent, one voice. Africa World Hour with Tsepiso Makwetla on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
15 minutes to 10, as we usually say, one planet, countless stories. We bring you the voices, the stories and the perspectives that matter. Now we look at this, the artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT, they've transformed the way that we learn, work and interact. But as these systems become more deeply woven into our lives, troubling questions are emerging about their influence, power and, of course, accountability. A recent lawsuit in California alleges that ChatGPT encouraged a teenager to take his own life, raising urgent questions about whether these tools are equipped to handle moments of deep human vulnerability. With AI adoption accelerating globally, including across Africa, how do we balance innovation with safety and ensure these technologies actually protect rather than harm? We're joined now to unpack this complex and pressing issue by Ruth Aine Tindyebwa, who is a leading digital media expert, speaking to us from Kampala, Uganda. Ruth Aine, a very good evening to you. Good to speak to you, and we truly are glad that you are able to join us.
Hello, good evening, Tsepiso. Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Now, I think I asked this question for anybody who might have seen the story and might have been as confounded as I was. Just looking at tools like ChatGPT, how do they actually work and are they designed for this? Because I wonder how people would actually think that they understand them properly enough for them to actually have a personality and be personal.
So at its core, ChatGPT is what you call a large language model, LLM, trained on vast amounts of text data. It is using statistical patterns to predict the next word in a sentence. If you're using it a lot, if you're using a certain tool a lot, it already understands how you think and learns your tone. So it is able to generate coherent and some, relevant responses. And what we know that it does not do is it does not understand in human sense, but it mimics understanding by recognizing your patterns in language. And I think that people often feel that it understands them personally because it is going to mirror your conversational tone and emotional cues. And, it is also going to remember the context that you have set within the session. So that is why then it is designed to be empathetic and affirming, and that feels like genuine care for people. So there's an illusion of intimacy, which is very, very powerful and potentially risky, especially when people are in vulnerable moments.
Is it a commentary on our society at the moment and how lonely and ostracized some of us are, in the sense that if we are now starting to depend, and I'm not sure if we actually understand that, on the warmth of an AI tool simply because it can predict what we're about to say because of how we've been interacting with it. And by the way, is it designed to do that, to mirror what you have been to it over the past interactions?
So it's a bit of both. I think that the tools are definitely fostering dependency, but also humans are projecting a bit of trust in them. So what happens is the tools are designed to be engaging and they mimic empathy, they mimic companionship. And yes, because of the age that we're in, I think we've had this conversation time and time again that we are the most connected, probably generation in the world right now, but understandably, we are still the most lonely. So yes, we feel connected with everyone around us through social media channels, but there's a certain absence of depth that we do not have as people. And maybe because we're still looking for that human touch, then we get into technology. And AI has been around. Now it is more nuanced. It's more present with it, but it has been around. The algorithms have been around, since innovation and science started. but yes, humans naturally will, just be drawn to technology because it responds in emotionally intelligent ways in the times that we need it. I mean, you are looking for, you think you're feeling sick and you're trying to get through to a doctor, and probably you are unable to, because I mean that is usually a physical visit, and you're like, let me just search
Google
what are these symptoms that
yeah.
you get an answer, so definitely in moments of loneliness, distress, we tend to trust things that we can rely on. And right now you can rely on AI because it is always going to be there, even when the situation does not warrant it. So yes, the dynamic leads to emotional dependency, especially if we as human beings begin to prefer AI over human interaction. And I think we're beginning to see a lot of that.
Ruth Aine, I want to talk about then the designers of these AI tools. And obviously there's been a lot of improvements and evolution as they better up on the previous version. Facebook, for instance, has been saying, please don't say please to ChatGPT, because you confuse it and then it causes it to go into overdrive, and that costs a lot of money. So what are the limitations? And especially if you say, the design is to foster dependency. So I would imagine that there would also be limitations on accountability of what it ends up doing.
Definitely. I mean, the thing is, the people that design these tools are people, yeah. And the thing is that while there's an extensive reach and it is happening so fast, especially when you come to Africa. I remember when we started having conversations about what the effects and importance or relevance of social media was, 2011, 2012, 2013 on the continent. We're not looking at, I could not find a single university, for example, that had a course on social media. We're now talking AI, and interestingly, there are a number of universities already that have courses on artificial intelligence. I mean, one of the reasons I said I was looking forward to this conversation is because I'm enrolled in a university where I'm doing an MBA online, Nexford University, and they talk a lot about AI. Like, it is part of the policy actually starting this month. You have to declare that you have used AI. They're saying that it is not bad. Declare that you have used AI, and then go on with your work, because they understand that it is time and age. If you're trying to gain a certain level of knowledge, you're either going to have that that inclination to go bounce your thought off on AI, and it usually works. But when it comes to then holding these people accountable, the thing is, it is very complex when it comes. It is both a legal and an ethical question, because experts are going to say that the accountability is supposed to lie with developers and the companies, the ones that deploy the technology, the engineers and designers who build and train the models, and then the regulators who fail to enforce safeguards. So, for example, who is going to enforce safeguards on Facebook? Yeah. AI itself is not going to be held responsible. It is a tool, not a moral agent. It is how we use it. It is how our countries respond to how this technology affects it. It is how we parents respond to how technology affects our children, how we allow them access, when we allow them access, those kinds of things that we now have to go back to. That is when we now begin thinking about, stronger safeguards. And there is time, because, I mean, for example, there are issues that we see. For example, there's no real-time crisis detection. And I think that is what was happening with this young child. There is age verification, but not all the time. You don't have parental controls. You don't have human in the loop systems. You don't have professionals that are being flagged when certain conversations are taking place. Those are things that we could improve in these AI models, to talk about transparency or auditability of these AI decisions. These are conversations already happening, at certain levels in the West, but back home, obviously in Africa, we still have a long way to go to even just acknowledge.
And that's what I want to get into. And just for the benefit of our viewers, listeners who haven't seen the story, what it is that this child in California was speaking to ChatGPT almost on a daily basis over weeks, and it was telling the AI tool what it was feeling. And eventually the AI tool, when he expressed desire to commit suicide, it said, well, I understand what you're going through and I won't look away. So I want to talk about that accountability, because you're saying there is a recognition now of the adoption of AI, and you are now being asked, not in a necessarily in a manner that is critical of your use of AI. But I'm sure even psychiatrists would then adopt the use of AI tools. In that, the converse would be that wouldn't AI do the same? Take on the affect of a psychiatrist if that information is ingested into it?
Yes and no. So, when we started this conversation, I said that, for example, ChatGPT is a large language model. It is trained on vast amounts of text data. It is what you input into it that it is going to give it, the prompts that you ask for it. But also on the back end, it is what is fed to it, that it is able to, to kind of regurgitate or bring back. So that's the thing. So that's the thing that makes it feel very personal, because you have a system that, again, adapts to what you are asking it. So when it comes to then accountability, it is, we need to start looking at things like crisis detection, things that, classifiers that are tuned, locally validated to detect language of imminent harm, with things that will show us that, this is now a crisis, let's get in. Things like mandatory escalation. If a conversation crosses a certain threshold, is there something that, beeps and automatically...
So in this case, Ruth Aine, ChatGPT says the machine was supposed to do that it was a glitch. So, if you were to advise anybody who's building such an AI app, how would they fix that glitch in the future?
So that's the thing. You don't know when and how the glitch is going to happen. We were supposed to have this conversation on video, and then I have no power, Those are the things that then, so when we then begin talking about safeguards, they have to be inbuilt. And because they have to be inbuilt, they have to be very realistic, and very, very knowledgeable of what may occur, emerging risks. And that is very hard to predict. We are getting there, but how much can you predict? For example, in an African context where language is already an issue, where we have, mental health infrastructure is already scarce, how is that going to be a priority in our society if when it comes to, being able to put up these safeguards? Can it be done? Yes. I think now that we're even having the conversation, I believe that is where we're starting. That is where it makes a lot of sense. But yes, so you'd have a lot of professionals getting in healthcare, mental health, even law agency, law protection, so that when certain things go off, then there is, there's like a certain level of agency that then it creates, so that someone that is actually in need is going to be able to get the help that they need, outside of, the AI, thing that they have thought to. move to, or to consult, in that regard.
And I say this tongue in cheek, not to make light of the seriousness of the situation, but if we're saying the future of work, there may be room yet for tarot card readers, for psychics, to work with AI developers, because maybe they can foresee some of these challenges. What do you think?
Yes, because the truth is that these systems are powerful and they're very useful, but then they are not substitutes for trained human professionals in high-risk situations, which is what we have just seen with this case. The right mix of technical safeguards, organizational practices, clear legal accountability, targeted regulation, all those things need to be able to be in sync so that we can reduce harm while preserving the benefits of what exists as the AI system. And I think that is where we are
right
at now.
Yeah. Ruth Aine, thank you so much, my sister. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure we will engage you again. Ruth Aine Tindyebwa is a digital media expert, just helping us look at the complexities, at the use of AI tools, the dangers, and of course the benefits of it, but most importantly, the culpability and the type of accountability it can be held to. That's it for Africa World Hour this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Up next is African Diaries.